Hey everyone, welcome to the Mike Gormley Show. It's nice to be back and thanks for coming in. We've got a special guest today, a gentleman by the name of Paul Rappaport, who I've known longer than we'll admit. And he's got a book called Gliders Over Hollywood, which will explain. Subtitle is Airship, Airplay, and the Art of Promotion. He was senior vice president of promotion for Columbia Records for a number of years and worked with just some of the icons, Dylan and Springsteen and Pink Floyd, and the list goes on. So he's here with us today because the book's coming out in a week or so. Hi, Paul. How you doing?
Mike, hi, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it, and it is great to talk with you once again.
Yeah, it's
I, I
really nice.
you manage the Bangles, and look at you. You're still walking and talking. You have color in your face. Congratulations.
I made it.
You made it.
Wow. Yeah, just for people listening, we worked together on the Bangles. The Bangles were on Columbia Records, and but you did rock, and although
Yeah.
I used to call them a rock band, they were probably more a pop band. Would you in terms of promotion?
I guess, I think they're kind of both. I mean, it's a fine line. They had pop singles, but if you saw them live, if when I saw them live, to me they were a rock band.
Mhm.
The singles were beautifully done. But to me, well, if I look at those gals, they're rockers. I mean, Debbie on the drums and Vicky's guitar and Michael. I mean, it's that to me, my opinion. I was looking at a rock band.
Mhm. Well, good, because so were we,
Oh, okay.
it proves to work out well.
Yes.
Uh, so. Jumping right into it, Gliders Over Hollywood is an interesting title for a book, and there's got to be a story behind that. Can you let us know?
Yeah, there is. I was having trouble coming up with the title because I couldn't. If you've read the book, there's a lot in there. I mean, it's a deep dive into a lot of places, and I couldn't come up with a title that could capture all of it. So I was talking to, excuse me, my publisher is out of England, Jawbone Press. For anybody listening, you should hop on their website. They have wonderful titles, music books. And he said, I bet you that your title is somewhere in the book. He said, let's maybe come up with a title that might make people think about what is this? And one of the stories in the book is about flying gliders, literally over Hollywood. When Aerosmith had just come out, their first album, we always used to make sort of tchotchkes. When we were really interested in a band, we knew we were going to do something special. We wanted to keep people's attention on them. So we'd make hats or, suspenders, belts, belt buckles, t-shirts. So somebody had the great idea to make these balsa wood gliders and put Aerosmith, across the wing. And about 1,000 of them showed up in a bag. At the time, I was on the West Coast. I worked for Columbia for 12 years on the West Coast before moving to New York in the 80s, to run their rock department. And I'm just a big kid. So I look at these gliders and I'm going, look, I know we're supposed to take them to radio and the record stores and, hang them up and do all these things. I think, wait a second. Before we do that, right, we have a building that overlooks Sunset Boulevard. And as a kid, I flew gliders all the time. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, we could take these gliders and fly them off the roof of our buildings, 14 floors up, and you can see Hollywood, all Sunset Strip, all the way to the left, the right. You can see the Hollywood Bowl. You can see the Hollywood Freeway. So the guy in the mailroom was a friend of mine, Ron Sims, nicknamed Spider. I said, Spider-Man, we got to fly these gliders. He goes, yeah, yeah. So we get on the roof and we start flying gliders, and then we began to sponsor glider races off the roof at noon. Everybody knew about it. And sometimes we'd have guest pilots, right? One day, Elton John came to visit a friend. He wasn't on Columbia, but he came to visit a friend who was his old road manager. So, we got called in, hey, meet Elton. He's a really cool guy. He looks just like you would think Elton would look with the big rose glasses and the platform boots or anything. But he's a really cool guy. So we bring him to the record room, give him a stack of records as he loves music. It's like, Elton, here's free records. Like, and then we go, hey, look, we're flying gliders off the roof of the building. You want to fly gliders? And he's like, sure. So we're thinking, whoa, it's Elton John. Take me to the pilot, Rocket Man. He's got to be a good glider pilot. I'm like, we don't know what we're talking about. Anyway, We go on the roof. We spent all afternoon with Elton flying gliders over Hollywood, like, spiders going out, I'm going for the freeway, Elton's going, I think I could hit the Hollywood Bowl. It was, and so it connotes the fun that we had in this business. And that's one of the reasons I wrote the book, is I wanted people to have fun. I wanted them to have the fun that I had in this business. This was a business where fun was part of your job description.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I mean, there was bowling in the hallways. There were water gun fights. These are grown men, right? There was a business meeting at the LA branch where I worked with Los Angeles branch to discuss the fact that we would no longer be able to set our table on fire at future record company conventions, because we had done this in big, ballrooms where they had dinner shows and the bands
Uh,
were.
uh,
The LA brand, we were wild. We were known at the end for setting our table on fire. Everybody loved it, but someone in New York finally figured out this is not a good thing, right? You can't set a table on fire in a hotel. But Mike, it's a business meeting to discuss that we can't do this anymore. And fascinatingly, half the staff rebelled and wanted to know why not.
yeah.
So this is the business that we're in. I wanted to capture the fun times. And I wanted people to meet all these characters that, you were a character. We're all characters. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
business of characters. Like,
Well, something like the gliders is not abnormal. I mean, what was was it Blue Oyster Cult? What was the one with the
yes, I have a big imagination. And in those days, we were making a lot of money. So we would get money to promote, to be creative. Be creative. And if you came up with a good stunt, they would give you money. I had a big imagination. I mean, I rented a Sherman tank for Ted Nugent and Eric Bloom from the Blue Oyster Cult. They were playing together at the Long Beach Arena. I rented a Sherman tank for them to drive around in the parking lot in. That, caused a big commotion and a lot of press and, whatever. So for the Blue Oyster Cult, I always tried to take a page from a band's music or their live show so that it makes sense, right? I just don't want to do a big stunt. I want it to relate to the band in some way, so it's organic. So the Blue Oyster Cult were pioneers in laser technology. They were very early with laser beams and a laser tunnel, and it was them and the Who in the beginning were using this laser technology. I was once watching television at home. I lived in North Hollywood in LA, and I saw that a laboratory in the San Fernando Valley, excuse me, had developed a 30-watt argon laser cannon that you could shoot off a hillside or a mountainside, and it would go for 30 miles. This is the biggest laser ever invented at that time. And the thing about lasers is, because of the way they're made, they are as bright at the end as they are at the destination as they are in the at the origin. So we were promoting the new Blue Oyster Cult album at the time was Agents of Fortune, and that was the album that had the Don't Fear the Reaper on it. And I wanted to do something very big. So I went to the local radio station that started their career in Long Beach, California, KNAC, talked to the program director. I said, look, I'm going to rent this thing. We're going to shoot it off Signal Hill. It's the highest point in LA. It's going to go across, it's going to shoot from Long Beach to Pasadena. Okay, get this? And it's going to be a laser party, and you play the album, and we'll have the laser beam dance, to each song. He loved the idea. We went up there. We turned this thing on. Mike, I swear to God, it was so big and so frightening. It looked like a death ray, like, from outer space. Like, it looked like War of the Worlds, and it shot for 30 miles. I mean, it really went that far. So, you can see this, Long Beach, Garden Grove, Pasadena. I got scared. I went, no, we should shut it off. This is way bigger than I thought it was going to be. But, we were well into it. I actually had to call the Long Beach airport in front so they could tell airplanes that it was going to be a promotion stunt, so they wouldn't land on us, thinking that this laser beam is the light
I was
track
thinking about that. I think
for them to land on, right? And there's a picture in the book. It doesn't do it quite justice, but you'll see what it kind of looked like. So I have a big imagination. So I was always about doing bigger than life promotions that would, the next day people would just have to talk about it, right? If you knew that this was a laser beam party for the Blue Oyster Cult, it was great. You were out in your front lawn, you were drinking wine, maybe you were doing something else, you're looking up at the sky, you're having a good time. If you didn't know, we scared the hell out of a lot of people who actually thought that aliens had landed because they never seen a laser beam shoot 30 miles in the sky across, So we scared a lot of people,
You get some press out of it? You got
Oh
some
yeah, no, yeah, big time. Yeah, we made the evening news. I mean, of course, because something like that. That I like to do things that do that.
Yeah.
That's like my job is. I love this music. I want to tell you about it. Look here. Boom. What is this? Right? Wow. Oh, it's about Blue Oyster. Oh, they have a record. Oh, is this that song? I heard it on the radio. So you're trying to connect all these pieces. But I'm about bigger than life, promotions. I mean, you read in the book about the airship, right? That I had created for Pink Floyd. This is the biggest. When blimps become so big, they're called airships.
Mhm.
And I had created an airship for Pink Floyd with the help of their designer, Storm Thorgerson, their graphic designer, who made it look like some creature from outer space, all psychedelic with faces and everything. And I mean, it flew all over the country. We gave the Pink Floyd fans rides in it. You went to ride at your local record
Yeah, it
store.
wasn't any trick photography or anything. That was real up there in the sky.
Yeah, no, this is real. This is okay. That's why I want people to know how wacky this business was. I mean, I had to talk the president of the label into it. This is a lot of money. I mean, there's money and then there's money, right? If you're going to promote Pink Floyd, you're already going to spend $2 million on videos and in-store stuff and posters and manufacturing. You're going to spend $2 million already. Now, if anybody out there ever wants to rent an airship, it costs you $1 million for 3 months. You rent it, you paint it. So when you see the Goodyear blimp go by or the Budweiser blimp or any of these big giant airships, these are rented and the graphics are painted on them. It's very fascinating. The paint has to come from France. And it's a big deal. And Storm Thorgerson, which I'll just tell you a little bit about him when we get into part 2 of your show, but he designed it to wow people. You you couldn't miss it because if you didn't look up and see it, I had rock radio stations broadcasting live from the gondola. Hi, it's Lynn Bremer from XRT in Chicago.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Right, I'm broadcasting from the Pink Floyd airship. We're going to be flying by the Sears Tower at 9:30. Wave to us, as we go by. So anyway, I know you have to take a break here for a second, but when we come back, I would like to tell you a little bit about Storm because he's an interesting.
He's legendary.
Yeah, he's legendary.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're going to take off and listen to some nice commercials from our friends, and we'll be back in about a minute and a half.